Hi everyone, welcome to another video lecture, and today we are going to talk about three schema architecture or levels of file system in database management system. And as I often tell you, I get the request from the subscribers or other students, and then I create the videos. So I know that I haven't discussed Dbms, database management system, but since I got this request, so I'm assuming that whoever is watching this video is already aware of the concepts of Dbms. So before we actually dive into this concept of three schema architecture, let's first understand what is the need of this architecture, okay? And you can better understand that if you know what DBMS is actually all about, okay? So DBMS is not just database, because database is what? Database is collection of data, right? And DBMS, when we say database management system, it's like collection of data, and it is in a very organized way using a software. Okay, so right. So when we say DBMS or database management system, it's not just about database and executing queries and all that. It is often used with another application, like in real life examples. You will see that we use an application with database. Also, if you have created projects using programming, so you will often, whenever you're creating a website or an application, it's not like that you are working with database only, right? So you will use SQL server or MySQL server or something. You will use these languages, and then there will be another programming language. So it could be C, C++, Java, etc. So it's like you use it in with another application, okay, or right, like with another website. And so it's like data has to pass through several layers or several components. For example, right now you are watching this lecture on YouTube. YouTube has its own database of videos, okay, and you are watching it. And before you actually started watching this lecture, you typed something in the search box in YouTube, right? You did not execute any query, you did not execute any SQL query or anything. You just typed in a simple English sentence, and those sentences were then processed in the back end of YouTube. So, and there was something like query goes through different layers, and we will talk about query processing and optimization in the coming lectures, and I'll explain how the query is actually it passes through all the levels. But when we are talking about the tiers or three schema architecture and all of that, it's like there are different levels, okay? The way you are interacting with the system is one level, and then there are other levels, right? And that's what we are going to talk about. So here we are going to talk about three schema architecture, and we also call it three tier architecture, and it's going to represent different levels of file system in database management system. Before we talk about three schema or three tier, we are actually going to talk about one tier and two tier, okay? So they do exist, fine. And so first of all, let's talk about one tier architecture. So in one tier architecture, the simplest one, sometimes it is not like you're always working on a project. So suppose you are a newbie and you just started learning SQL. So what you will do, you will install database in your computer system, and then you will start practicing SQL queries, right? This is very simple execution of database, fine, where only one tier is in use, that is your computer system. You install the software and you're executing queries, you're practicing on your system and all of that, fine. So that is one tier architecture. There is only one tier, and that is your computer system. Then there is two tier architecture. In two tier architecture, suppose you are listening to songs, okay, and you have a music player, it's playing songs, right? But then there is also a database of songs. I think Wink Music would be a very good example here. So when you play music, right, songs are actually fetched from the database of songs. So there are actually two tiers. One is your music player in the system, in the computer system, and then using maybe internet, you are accessing database of songs. Fine, so there are two tiers, right? Now let's talk about three-tier architecture. So in a three-tier architecture, there will be a client, there will be a server, and then there will be an actual database. For example, when you're creating a website, okay, when you actually work with when you actually create a project and then you also host it, so server is usually used to host the application that you created. Fine, and that application is now the client. Okay, it will have an interface. Okay, and you will access or you will interact with the application, you will use its facilities, its services using that interface, and it is hosted on a server, and then you will create tables, etc., using SQL or something, and data will be stored in those tables. Okay, so there will be an actual database, and then there will be a server to host that application, and then you are using some programming language or something to create the front end, create the component that user interacts with. Okay, so this is called three-tier architecture, because unlike other tiers, 1 and 2 tier, in three-tier architecture there are three components. Okay, there is a client, there is a server, and there is also your database. Fine, I really hope this is clear, and if it is not, you can always ask. Now this is what we're going to talk about. What is the use of this three-tier architecture? Okay, if you have a three-tier architecture, usually this tier will have three layers: presentation, application, and database server. Okay, so presentation layer is how data is presented to the user. And why I'm talking about this all is because when we talk about three schema architecture for database management system, you'll be able to relate to this architecture. Okay, used for different applications, etc. So in this architecture, we have a presentation layer. It is used to present how things are presented to the user. So that would be the client, how user looks like when user looks at the interface of the app, how it looks like, is it appealing, how many icons are there, and all of that. So this is presentation layer. Then we have application layer. Application layer is where actually things are applied using logic. Okay, so programming. Fine. And then finally we have your database. Okay, where data is actually stored. You can call it database or database server. Usually there is a server and then there is database server, hosting server and database server. Fine. So now, what is the benefit of having this three-tier architecture? One of the benefits is that it differentiates, it makes the layers independent of each other, but at the same time it creates correspondence between each other, between them. Okay, so if you want to make changes in one layer, it is not going to negatively impact the other layers. So for example, if you want to create changes in the client, so you have to change something in the interface, it will not impact the database. It's not going to impact data stored in the database. Okay, so this actually makes these layers independent of each other, but at the same time somehow they are also dependent on each other, so there is some sort of correspondence. Okay, now let's talk about three schema architecture in database management system. So when we talk about three schema architecture in database management system, there are three levels or three schemas, you can say. We have physical level, conceptual level, and external level. Okay, and you will see that external level is associated with the user. Okay, so this is suppose your user. Fine. Now external level means externally, whatever you see externally. So user interacts with the app. Again, I can give your example. You are interacting with the computer system. You are looking at YouTube. You see a box. You see subscribe button. You see like button. You see this feature to increase or decrease the volume. You see feature to click on a video, right? So this is external level, right? Then there is conceptual level. It is, middle ground. It is middle. So this is not known to the user. This is basically for programmers. And then there is physical level, which is associated with the machine itself. Okay, like the actuality, physical aspects. So let's talk about these levels one by one. First, we have external level. And as I told you, external level means how user views things externally. Okay, and this level represents presentation layer in three-tier architecture that we already discussed. And this level is also called view level because different views of data are represented in this level. Okay, so for example, right now you are watching this video. Okay, it doesn't mean there is only this one video on YouTube. There are several videos on YouTube. There are several topics, right? But you chose this one and YouTube is showing you this one only, right? So this is sort of like whatever you wanted to watch, view level, like you can view what you want to view. Fine. So user specific view will be presented to the user. Okay, so this level is very close to users. It is associated with users. Okay, how data is viewed by the user as per their needs. Fine, and that's why it's also called view level. And whatever user is interested in, how user interacts with the system, with the application, how user views data, all of that. So for example, I have chosen phone as an example. So when you use your phone, you don't know the internal functionalities. When you open your phone, you get to see your interface. Then you get to decide what you want to see. Now there is your file folder, music folder, there is camera, gallery, and all of that. But you decide the view. You click on one and then you get to see all of that. So this is sort of like that. Okay, external view. Then we have second one, that is your conceptual view. Now conceptual view, it is intermediate level, and conceptual level is all about the concept, the logic. What is the logic? Fine. So this one is related to programming, and it is also related to application layer in three-tier architecture. It's all about using frameworks. So right now you're watching videos, but then programmers did something. They wrote queries. Okay, they used certain frameworks. For example, we have when we use IDEs and all of that to create projects and applications. So it could be JVM, use of JVM, and many other NetBeans or whatever. Like, I'm just giving you examples, very, very simple examples. And it is also about, now since we are talking about database, so this actually includes writing queries. So for example, again, very simple example, if you're watching YouTube videos, how these queries were created. Okay, so when user clicks on something, it's like fetching those videos from some table, let's say. So it will be like, if you are familiar with queries, how queries are written, so it's going to be like select certain videos from this table and then play them or something. So this is all about queries. Okay, and user you as a user, you have no idea about it. It's all programming. It's all about writing queries and executing them. Okay, so this is your conceptual level. Then we have last one, physical level. Okay, and physical level is where actual database comes. Fine. And because when we write queries as programmers, when you write queries on conceptual level, we are dealing with tables. So data is stored in tables, we insert data into tables, and we fetch data from tables. But internally, how the data is represented on the disk is none of our business. So this one, so when we talk about conceptual level, user has no idea. So when we talk about physical level, programmer now has no idea, because machines deal with data in the form of bits, in the form of zeros and ones. Okay, binary data. So this one, physical level, deals with how data is internally represented, how it is actually stored in the machine or the hard drive in the form of bits. So it could be like when data is stored, it is stored in the form of B trees. Okay, hashing, some sort of hashing is used, whether encryption has been used. When data is stored, does machine encrypts the data? Is encryption is performed, or is it compressed so that memory space is utilized properly? You know, what is the internal structure of the data? So that's what physical level deals with. Okay, so there are these three levels, external, conceptual, and physical level. These are three schemas also: external schema, conceptual schema, physical schema. And then, as I told you, they are independent of each other, but at the same time they depend a little bit on each other. And that dependency is called mapping. Not dependency, I would say, basically the correspondence. Because obviously when user wants to watch a video, some query will be run. Okay, so that is like conceptual level. And then when that query is run, data has to be fetched from the machine. So that is physical level. So there is correspondence. Okay, and this is called mappings. And we will talk about mappings in the coming video lectures. So for now, I really hope this whole concept is clear. If it is not, you can always ask. And finally, I wanted to give you this very simple example. So we have three levels here: physical, conceptual, and external. We'll start from the right to left. Okay, so if you see here, external level, as I told you, it's all about user. It's all about the view. So I've taken the same example, YouTube example. So suppose you are watching this YouTube video. So this is user, clicks on a video, and video shows up on YouTube. So this is external level. Okay, then at conceptual level, programmer has already decided what is going to happen when user clicks on a certain video. So that is all about programming. Okay, and when user clicks on a video, programmer has already decided from where it's gonna, not from where it's gonna fetch, like internally programmer doesn't know, but what is going to happen. So what particular video is shown on the screen, it's going to be fetched from the database. So these are all the disks where YouTube videos are stored. Okay, so this is very simple example to help you understand the difference between physical schema, conceptual schema, physical level, conceptual level, and external level in three-tier schema of database management system. And if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video lecture where we'll discuss about mappings, and we'll also talk about we'll talk about other stuff too related to database management system. So I'll see you in the next video lecture. Till then, take care.